Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of The Author Tells. Today, we have Dale Johnson with us, the writer of Dark Devotion, a collection of short stories that went up a few months ago on the Saga Fiction app. And we're very, very excited to be chatting with him. Hi, Dale, how are you?
Yeah.
Good. How have you been, Dale? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and things like that?
As I said earlier, I took a year off work to complete a historical fictional novel about the Irish Rebellion of 1916.
Yep.
So that's if it succeeds, yeah, great. If it doesn't, then I go back to work, for the next X years. Um, my path has been interesting throughout my life. I'm originally from Nottingham. That's known for rally and speedo swimwear, and Brian Clough, the football manager. But I was raised in Derbyshire, in a coal mining village. Derbyshire, if you don't know, is more Peak District and Rolls Royce. Yeah. Well, throughout my teens, I was a unquantifiable anti-government anarchist. I'd say nothing seems to satisfy. You're moving from one job to another. Money was everything, with no direction. But development of my working class background, I think it determines my writing style in some respects.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and then I found university, and I liked it. So I stayed there for what 10 years. So now I'm a perpetual student now. Yeah.
I think
So that's me in a nutshell.
I think that is a sort of comfort in being a perpetual student because
Yeah.
there's that you get to learn a lot and somehow the responsibilities seem lesser. There might not be, but it's just the illusion. I think that's quite nice.
It
Um,
is. The learning curve is just amazing with being a student. I love it.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
do you,
it's how much you put into it. You get out. That's my
Yep.
philosophy.
Agreed for sure.
Yeah.
so do you want to tell us a little bit about your writing process in general? Like how do you
Um,
get an idea and then set about actually writing the work down?
well, originally, I read at a very early age. I can remember my late father reading Tom Brown's School Days. I mean, it's like 1920s or something like that. And then I read um, front to back the $6 Million Man.
Yes,
Um,
that's
that was in the
that's a good
'70s, and I thought it was great. It's not so much now. It's quite naff. And I used to take dictionaries to bed with me to read.
Oh, wow.
one.
Um,
Wow.
and so as my reading and writing developed,
Mhm.
um, at the age of, I'd say, 13,
Mhm.
I wrote a story which was something like 26 pages long, and my teacher was so impressed. But I felt I had I didn't have the gumption to read it out aloud, so I gave it to somebody else, and I then dabbled with creative stories for no one in particular. I just liked the satisfaction and achievement of what I'd produced. I've always wanted to be a budding author at heart. I read humongous amounts of fictional and non-fictional books over the years. At the same time, I've developed a love of research, both from my university days and personally. Google is my old friend. I just love knowledge in its pure form, and instinctively have to create something on paper. I suppose my method of writing is initially observation. For instance, when I used to go to work, I'd see an old man about 65, 70, sat on a fence with a lunch pack and a high-vis jacket, and I just think, is he waiting for a lift to his place of work, or where's he going? Should this man be retired by now? Is it relative poverty which is keeping him working? Does his partner get up with him in the morning to make his lunch? And that's how a story would develop, either flash fiction or a small short story. Whereas writing itself, I tend to build up strong characters initially, maybe 2, 3, and then I build a life around these characters. I then develop a plot. At the moment, I'm concentrating on in Ireland in the early 20th century, and a rebellion which by the Irish against British rule. And I'm using 2 distinctive perspectives within the characters. And also my masters in creative writing has immensely helped with the structure and the analysis aspects. So that is me in a nutshell.
Wow, that was a very interesting sort of writing process that you described, that you come up with your characters first and then you think of the plot, which is very, very important. Because some people don't usually realize that how important characters can be to a story, and the apt descriptions and things like that. But can you tell me a little bit about your inspiration for Dark Devotion, the characters in there, because they're written so beautifully. So how did that come about to be?
Do you mean like the sort of the characters? Where do I get them from? And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't base a character on me myself. I feel I ramble too much, and I talk to the TV incessantly. You know, I couldn't sort of do it. You know. Now I use characters within my life.
Okay.
People who I find interesting, and
Yeah.
they've got something about them. So that's how I sort of formulate things. The books that itself, I'd say the vegetarian story, Lottie
Yes.
Blacksmith.
Yes, that's right.
That was fun, but I think it was that is a little of myself. I used to be a probation volunteer at Wakefield Prison.
Oh, okay.
Years ago. It's high security. We're naughty men that go for life sentences. And on the return from home, I went vegetarian after seeing an animal transporter. And on the description in the book, the story, it is true.
Oh, wow.
Much like Lottie Blacksmith did. But switching to the other side, my thought process. I had a life-changing illness when I was about 16, 17. And I read the true story of Douglas Bader. Reach for the Sky, it was called, by Paul Brickhill. The story is about a Second World War pilot who was showing off in his Spitfire, and he crashes, losing both his legs. And it tells his fight for normality and acceptance, and it develops a set of internal morals, and the determination after adversity, and that's the way I write. In the same vein, you know, the sort of no surrender mentality. You know, if you don't like what I write, then you've got the option to delete it from your mind. You know, crack on, do something else. You know, yeah. Basically, that's it.
There's yeah, you're right. A lot of passion comes through in your stories from Dark Devotion, and that's what sort of, I think, binds the stories together as well, is human passion and the different forms it takes. So was that a sort of purposeful thing? You know, I mean, and they're all sort of in the sort of in the vein of darkness. Like when you think about Bert from Empire, he's essentially a sociopath, and how did that? Yeah. So how did you manage to use all of that into the story?
Well, most of my working life, I've been involved with people who had learning difficulties, or people who have a mental health issue, or homelessness. I mean, that's in the past 20 years. You know, I've done that sort of work. Therefore, I tend to write from the issues of the vulnerable sector of society, especially working class. I feel that these sectors have got a lot to live, not to give, sort of thing. So the empire, for instance, I love the facts that I can manipulate facts, and I think Dennis Nielsen, he was a murderer in London of gay men, and Bert in Empire. One was factual, the other was fictional. Think of the thousands and thousands of people who have changed their eating habits and become vegetarian, like Lottie. You know, what's the mindset? You know, think of Steve and Dan in Don't You Want Me? Would you love to do anything regardless of the consequences? You know, I can think of a prime minister springs to mind. You know, I would like to have a word with him. I'd say.
Wow, yes. I think, I mean, the process of the characters, and especially the way you weave them into the story, is just marvelous. I mean, you know, why didn't you tell the audience a little bit more in detail about what the stories are? And I think we jumped a bit ahead. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the stories?
Well, I think the initial one I started was Empire. It was for a local group, a writing group, and I just went a bit mad about it. You know, there was sort of 5,000-6,000 words. You know, I only intended to do about 1,000, and I quite felt myself being drawn into it, and I related a lot of people who I'd met in my life into that story. And Bert himself, I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I wanted to write something about the elderly.
Okay.
I think there's not enough literature regarding the elderly, and that was one aspect I'd sort of considered, as well as the serial killer sort of aspect. The Lottie blacksmith vegetarian, that was me. You know, I'm not female, right? But yeah, and I did actually took a black bag middle of the night, and I just got everything, you know, with meat based products. and I felt really good. You know.
Wow, that's interesting.
The French resistance, the Marquis. I've always had an interest in black and white war films, and a lot of it is I've picked bits out of it. I thought, oh, that would be a really good scene, you know. That is maybe another novel what I'm developing at the moment about antiques. Yeah, but that'll be a year or two away. What was the other one? Don't you want me? Yeah, that was it was an exercise on writer's block. I tend to pick a song off YouTube, yeah, and I write what they're saying. And I thought that song was, you know, really deep, you know, and I just went with it, yeah, and created something which I thought was great, you know. So that was, well, the four was okay, yeah, they were nice stories.
Yeah.
But as Neerja says, yeah, passion. Yeah, they all stem from some kind of passion.
Absolutely. I do. Like you mentioned, "Don't You Want Me" is based on the song. So I did the first time that I read the story. I went and I heard the song after, and it weaved in perfectly with the song. It was just yeah. You wouldn't have. It's not that it made it better. It just complemented it so well. I highly recommend that everyone either listen to the song at the same time or before or after, but definitely have that experience of the song and the story together. It's
yeah, I hope so. I don't know about the copyright, but well.
Well, it doesn't take anything from the song itself. It's an inspiration.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly fine. But so here's the thing about all four of your stories as well, right? Not to give anything away, of course, but there's an element of surprise to all of them. And so how do you manage to sort of build that tension from the beginning itself without giving away that there might be a twist? There might be.
I always think of the reader. You know, what do they want? Because you can't. I mean, I'm reading Le Plant novel, and it's really detailed. And I'm thinking, well, the reader has got their own mind, you know. So let them go, let them think and imagine things. Yeah. What if? So about 50% of the story, I won't tell the end, you know, and then because that should be the reader's imagination. That's my view anyway. Also, for the masters, I learnt hell of a lot of construction of the story that had I'd say impetus. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. So I agree. I do agree. I think the masters, and that's a tidbit information for all of our audiences. Dale and I were in the same class for creative writing, for our creative writing masters, and as you said, there was so much to learn from there. As in construction and structuring, there was something that's very important for a writer, regardless of what genre they're writing, and what is their story form. So, and I think we had a really good, interesting sort of outlook as to Dale's writing and how he, weaves the story so delicately and so interestingly. I think my last question to you, Dale, is that what are you currently reading from the Saga Fiction app? Is there something that you'd like to recommend?
I've not read, but I am going to read Free Madden by J.P. Lynn.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
I read the story of O. It was years and years ago, and it was a bit erotic, but and I wanted to see if it had the same literal effects. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey, it just didn't float my boat, It's Quiver by Pawar and Biswa.
Hey.
Biswa, yeah. Because I've taken sort of over the years to reading international stories, particularly Indian, French, and Chinese, rather than just solely British stories, So, that those two spring to mind. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, we definitely recommend you read it as well. And let us know what you think about that. It would be great.
I will. Time, 24 hours a day,
Yes, I agree. Time sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I think that's it for this episode of The Author Tells. I hope everyone really enjoyed our talk with Dale. We know we did. We got to learn so much more about his writing process than we knew before. And yeah, we hope to see more stuff from you soon.
Oh, yeah, you might do.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Dale, for doing this with us.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.